Well, we're going to discuss this further now with Yunus Soner, the Turkish Patriotic Party's Deputy Chairman of International Relations. Thanks for joining us here on the programme, Yunus. Now, Turkey-NATO relations, they've been going downhill for quite some time now, haven't they? How likely is that this recent incident over NATO drills will prove to be the last straw?
Well, welcome to the rising of a new world. Turkish public opinion is already strongly discussing closure of different US bases here in Turkey, like Incirlik, from where the operations towards Syria are made, or the radar station in Malatya Kürecik, which is surveying the region between the north of Iran, Iraq and Syria as well. So as long as the basic conflict between Turkey and, above all, the United States exists, concerning the American attempt to divide Turkey, to aim at dividing Turkey by using the PKK, more crisis and more answers of Turkey will have to be expected.
I mean, if we look at the incident in hand, it was a bit of an embarrassing incident, wasn't it, for NATO, and the fact that they've had to come out and apologise. How likely do you think it is that NATO can afford to lose Ankara at this point? Because, you know, given the Turkish input into NATO, it's the second strongest military presence, isn't it? So it's caused a really rather embarrassing situation.
I think NATO has a big problem. NATO has a very big problem. More than the NATO, the United States has a big problem, because not only in this incident and not only by losing the Turkish armed forces, but in general with the rupture in the transatlantic system between Europe on the one side and the United States on the other side, the future of the NATO is very doubtful. But here we do clearly have a pioneering role of Turkey in resisting the American interventions in the Middle East and in Europe as well, as a pioneering force, and this will lead to a rupture within Europe, within the NATO, because I don't think that the European NATO countries will side with the United States if you consider their recent positioning, for example, concerning Trump's policy towards Iran and Trump's policy towards Syria as well. So I think the retreat of Turkey step by step from the NATO will give rise to a new world by having a great influence on the NATO itself. It's the NATO who is going to be divided in two camps.
But Yunus, how likely is it that Turkey does eventually pull out of NATO, and what impact is that going to have?
Well, actually, you might ask if Turkey still is in the NATO. For example, if you consider Turkish foreign policy concerning, take, for example, the recent referendum in Iraqi Kurdistan. Turkey took a national position in coordination with Iraq and Iran. Or if you take, for example, for another example, Turkey's policy towards Syria. Turkey's policy towards Syria is not at all dominated by NATO or its NATO membership, but by coordination with Russia and Iran, and indirectly also with Syria. So you might ask if Turkey still is a NATO member, and this question is also asked in the United States. Now, the clue point is that we need to strengthen, this is our position from Turkey, we need to strengthen this alliance which is rising in the horizon, which is turning into a brotherhood in arms, to maintain these countries' national unity and territorial integrity, and to reject all American interference in the region. So, is Turkey still a NATO member?
OK, well, we'll leave it there. Yunus Soner, the Turkish Patriotic Party's Deputy Chairman of International Relations, thanks very much for coming onto the programme.
Thank you.